Hey, I'm in the voiceover booth today, so you might hear the cat who is sitting right below the microphone because I could not keep her out if I tried. I'm recording a video on a GoPro. If I post it, you'll see the cat, and you'll see me scratching her chin. If I don't post it, you'll have to imagine using theater of the mind. Hey, welcome to the first audio-only episode of Do the Thing. Now, that doesn't mean there won't be more live streams. There definitely will be. But I always envision this as an audio first. I always envisioned this as an audio first podcast. I come from old world podcasting, from old country, when it was all RSS feeds and MP3s. And the live stream sort of took a life of its own, which is great. But I wanted to make sure that I had a dedicated audio version as well. And up until now, that has just been turning the live stream audio into an audio podcast, pulling from the video. But I thought it'd be nice to do an audio-centric, audio-first one, as I've always wanted to do, which is why I'm in the voiceover booth today. Puts me in a different headspace. There will be more video, absolutely. It seems to be a crucial part of the show. Probably more of what the show is than what I envisioned. But the reason that it's not, besides the fact that I wanted to do an audio show as well, is directly related to today's topic. So let's unravel today's topic together. In my notes, I've been jokingly calling it low power mode. And the big idea I have, which is coming from both me and from questions and comments that I've gotten privately, things that people wanted to address on the show, some version of how do you keep things going when it is impossible to do everything at once at full energy and at like peak focus? You know, I think we heard some version of this maybe last week that was, how do you keep all the plates spinning? And my answer is, well, I drop a lot of plates. You got a lot of projects, a lot of ideas, a lot of things you want to get done, but there's also still, life happening. How do you keep all those things going? You're just one person. We're going to dive into it. One thing that I've heard before that I kind of like is it's like you think of your aspects of responsibility as kind of burners on a stove, like you have your life and you have your work and you have your creativity and you have your health and that kind of stuff. And you turn those burners up and down and that's cool. That's great. But I have another take on it. And it's not just about kind of managing your energy, but it's not just about managing your energy, but it's about like expanding your ideas of what it means to do your creative project, and maybe hopefully opening up to ways of doing your project that are more flexible, that maybe you hadn't considered, that weren't part of your original plan. And this is one of them today. So usually I do a video thing and I do a live stream, and there's a lot that goes into that. A lot that happens before, a lot that happens after. And when you have a lot of stuff going on in life, that can be kind of unsustainable to do something with such heavy production value all the time. But I don't want to go a week without a show because that sucks. So the audio podcast comes out on Fridays and the live stream is always on Mondays, but I couldn't live stream this week because I was at a movie premiere. Fancy pants me, but that's what I was doing. But I still, which means I had nothing for a Friday show and I still wanted a Friday show. So I had to expand the idea of what the show is. So if I don't do a live stream, is it still the show? Yes, here it is. This is the audio only version. And you're here, and I want to talk about or use this as a way to talk about, an entry point to talk about your stuff and how can you do your stuff when you don't have everything you need. You don't have all of your time, energy, resources, your document that you're writing your script in. This just happened to my wife. She went to the coffee shop to write a movie script she's working on, and none of the stuff was on her iPad because she just got an updated iPad for her birthday, and all the stuff was on her laptop. And she wrote a whole bunch of pages anyway because she's a badass. Um, and that's a way to handle like deficiency. But maybe what I'm trying to get to is, how do you plan for? There will be times where I'm doing a project and I want to have felt like I've moved it forward, or I not just feel like I want to have actually moved it forward in a real way, but I'll be missing something, or I won't be able to do what I think of as a crucial part of it. How do you continue to create the project in a way that you still recognize? Now, this won't work for everything necessarily. I mean, if you're shooting a major motion picture and you were supposed to film that day and you didn't, well, you're not going to film that day, but there might be other stuff that you can do where you feel like, okay, I've still moved things forward. Surely you have things like this in your life, at least at work, right? If you're waiting on someone to get you something, or is there something you need for the project to move forward? Well, are you totally stuck, or is there something you can do to feel like you've made some progress? I want to take a look kind of like that, but at your creative life, right? What I want you to imagine, what do you think about when you think about your creative project at 100%, at fully realized? What is that? And how much energy does that take? Okay, right? Do you have that? Now I want you to think about, what is that same project at like 10%? When you have a tenth of the energy or resources or whatever. What is the same project that you will recognize as your thing you're doing, but a tenth of the energy, right? For me, this would be kind of audio podcast versus the whole full live stream video podcast and animation stuff, right? This is the same thing. I'm trying to do the same thing, but this is the version of it that I'm able to do today, Sometimes that's all we have time for. So what's the 10% version of your project that you still feel like is your project and still satisfying to you in that way? Okay. That may put in mind that I'm trying to get you to think about like only limits, like what do I do if I don't have everything? But now let's turn it on its head and let's think about, okay, how many faces can your project wear? How many outfits can you put it in and it still be the project, right? This is an audio show. This is, to me, the same show as the video show, but it's going to present differently. And that's going to give me different opportunities. It's going to give me new opportunities. I don't think of this as a less than version of the show. Because remember, I'm always doing an audio show. This is just audio first. This isn't live streamed, right? But it's the same show. How many faces can your project wear? How many things can you do that is the same core project you recognize, but dressed differently, and therefore maybe able to get to different people? Your audience is out there, but they're not, especially now, they're not all in the same place. They're here and there and everywhere, and they're hiding in all these different little enclaves, and you have to find them. You have to get to them, right? So you got to find where your audience is hiding. There's an idea, speaking of, I'll come back to where your audience is hiding in just a second, but coming back to why I think it's important that I go ahead and get a show out on Friday, even though there wasn't a Monday live stream. There's this theater I used to work at that will remain nameless. My messages, I need to turn that off. There is a theater I used to work at that will remain nameless that would look at their yearly projections, how much are we going to make on tickets, this, that, and the other. And there would be the thing of, oh, well, this show in this slot never really makes money, so we can kind of do whatever we want, but, it's not going to make any money. And then the idea comes of, well, what if we just don't do a show there? What if we try to save money by not doing a show? And it's like, actually, we're better off doing even a low volume show income-wise and spending the money to make that little show than not doing a show at all. So that seems to work. Okay, cool. So This isn't exactly that, but sometimes maybe creatively for you, the return of feeling like you've stayed in it and you haven't missed, a session or a week or whatever it is on whatever your time measurements are on your project. Like, okay, at least today I did this thing on it, and I don't feel like I've abandoned it or I've let it go into the wilderness, and I'm not beginning a pattern of neglect and not doing the thing. So sometimes making something's better than nothing. I think you should still try to make that something good, but that's my opinion. So coming back to different phases, right, of your project. You've got to find a way to connect to your audience. You got to find them, and you got to find where they are, right? If you make a lot of different kinds of creative work, a variety of creative work, some people may only see one part of that work, the part that they feel like is for them. And we'll talk about what for them is in a second. But that's okay, right? It's got to be okay. You can't be everything to everybody, right? It's a question of accessibility. Yes, physical accessibility, sure. And temporal accessibility and emotional accessibility. So let's get the physical stuff. Let's address that first. A person who doesn't have vision or who doesn't have vision at all or has vision that's makes it difficult to see anything, right? They may not find, let's say, your video content to be the ideal content for them, right? Especially if you're in a situation where you can't have audio descriptions, like a live stream. Like you can do auto captioning and stuff like that, but if you're showing something, if you need, on pre-recorded media, you can do audio descriptions, the man walks over to the table, that kind of stuff. Sometimes that's harder to do on a live stream if you're doing it real time. So there's just a lot of reasons why it just feels incomplete if you can't see, right? And that's a physical accessibility issue. Easier to address currently in post-recorded media, but it would be amazing if it were more addressable in live media. But that's not what we're talking about today. I'm talking about a barrier, right? So that person may not be into your video content because it just doesn't work in their life, right? It's a physical barrier. But let's say it's the same content, and let's say it's a person who does have what we think of as traditional vision, or they're able to watch your content. Let's say it's, again, a video. Let's say it's a live stream again, right? But they're not going to because it's a bad time for them. So that's a problem with temporal accessibility. They're not your audience because it just doesn't fit in the time of their life. There's no physical barrier there, but it's just they're busy, and it just doesn't fit. Them watching a screen, even passively, just doesn't fit for them, right? So that's a temporal problem, They might, though, if you present that content to them in a different way, even if they don't know it's your content, if they don't know you, but they might, say, listen to a lot of audio podcasts and they've never seen your video stuff or your live stream stuff because that's just not what they're into, but they come across your audio show, it's recommended to them or whatever. Recommendations are huge in podcasts. But they do have time to listen to that because that fits into their life. Now, they may listen to it at like 2x speed on their commute to work, but the temporal accessibility issue is no longer there. Like that just fits into their life. Cool. Great. So that brings me to the third accessibility issue between you and your audience, and that's emotional accessibility or preference accessibility, maybe. People may not find your content because it's just not what they want. As they consume whatever they like, whatever they enjoy, and more things like it get recommended to them, the thing you're making may not be on that list, right? Sorry, my cat hit my keyboard, so let me scroll back up to my points because I'm not smart enough to do this off the cuff. You can listen to my cat purr while I scroll down real quick. Oh yeah. So if they're just not interested, right? If they don't find your content because it's just not the kind of stuff they're into, if it doesn't engage their mind, if it doesn't move their heart, your stuff might not be for them, right? Your main content, let's say, if you make a lot of different kind of stuff. But maybe there's this other thing you make. I don't know, a thing where you pretend to be a cat or something and you wear a cat suit and you make TikToks. I don't know. I don't do that, but people do, I guess. That person, they might love that, and that might be exactly what they're into, and that may be all they know you for. To them, you are, a dude in cat suit pretending he's a cat. And that's your entire life to them. And they don't know that you also do all this other stuff, blah, 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 blah. And guess what? They don't need to. Like, it's not your job to police someone's preferences. It's not your job you don't get, really, to, like, I don't think you get a say in, like, how your art is consumed and perceived. Like, I understand you, like, there's a way that you hope people take it. Or there's a way you hope that it's received, or there's a message maybe you're trying to get across. But once you put that message out, that's your part of the communication. They'll receive it how they receive it, and maybe they'll come talk back to you, maybe they won't. But that part's not your job, right? They're going to fit your stuff into their life if they find it at all, and you've got to help them find it. So if you can get past those barriers, physical accessibility or temporal accessibility or emotional accessibility, preference accessibility, I guess. You got to get it to them first, and then they'll do what they will with it. It's not for you to judge how people use your stuff or how they bookmark or shorthand you in their brain. You can have an audience that only knows one thing that you do, and a whole other audience who only knows the other thing you do, and so on, because that's just how content is now. That's how things get around now. You're watching and you bookmark a thing, and the algorithm comes back and says, oh, okay, they want more of this. And that goes back to the suggestion engine, and they start sending that more of whatever it was that you made that person responded to their way. And there might be something else you made that pops up in their feed, and they swipe past it, or they downvote it, or whatever, because that's not their thing, right? But you present both, and you might find two very large tribes for both kinds of things that don't overlap. That's fine. That's a totally sustainable way to begin to make a living as a creator. If you've got very different groups that are digging on two very different things that you're making, and you have the capacity to serve both of those audiences, and you want to do that, go for it. Because I think that can be very fulfilling right now as an artist, because I don't know about you, but I feel like I've got to sort of put these things into these chutes. And I understand it, and I'm trying to do that. But this content goes here, this content goes there, this content goes over here, for this audience, for this audience, for this audience. But at the at the apex of where those shoots come from is you, the person who's making all that stuff. You, the rounded whole person, right? And this is just the stuff you're putting out there that's you, that's public, that you're wanting people to take on. And that's not including all the rest of the sphere that is your life, that is your hopes and dreams and fears and all of that kind of stuff. That's all there, and that all feeds into the stuff that you put out publicly. But and that stuff's kind of for your family, and your friends. But I think it's very challenging as a creator right now to be seen as a whole person, and be successful, because that's a lot of nuance, and we're not great at that, I think, these days. So, okay, if you're making stuff for kind of fractured audiences and it's taking, well, go for it. So I'm trying to do that here. I'll talk through a little bit of this, and then I might have a story for us, and then we'll close out. So here, the weekly live stream, the Monday Night Creator Chat. I love doing that. Weekly is too much. I learned that because I'll be doing stuff, and I don't have I love my life. It's just not super predictable. So I can have, planned like what I'm going to do this month, what I'm going to do this week. And then suddenly an audition will come in, and you think it's nothing, and then you end up booking it. And so, and that just happened this week. So I thought, we had a whole bunch of stuff that we were going to do this week. And then things had to change, right? It's really hard to plan vacations that way. And my wife and I, we were going to go daybed shopping, right? We were going to look for a daybed for a guest room. But I booked a commercial. So instead of doing that, I'm doing wardrobe fittings, and I do the shoot. And the shoot was amazing. I got to do a bunch of improv scenes with an SNL cast member, and that was like fantastic. But after that, I've still got to go shopping for a daybed and stuff like that. And just so you don't think I'm Mr. Fancy Lad here, my here's a humbling bit. My car battery is so dead that I have to jump it every time I start the car, and there wasn't time because again, life is unpredictable for us. There wasn't a time between the car battery dying and my shoot the next morning. So I go and I spend this day on set, and I'm Mr. Fancy Lad doing this commercial. And after we wrap, I'm in the car jumping my car with a little battery, a battery jumper, just so that I can go home in my 14-year-old Honda Civic, right? As I go home from my fancy pants union commercial. But yeah, whatever. All right. Let me get back on track here. Weekly live streams. It was too much, but I love it. So I think I'm going to do those every 2 weeks. But I want content to come out every week. Content. I want the show. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you every week, if I can, because I want to hear back from you. And what's cool about doing a live stream every 2 weeks is that gives more time for that feedback to come in. So I get more questions. I get more comments. I get things that I can pick and try to craft the theme of a given live stream on by seeing what's on people's minds that week and what kind of questions come in, which is great. It's great to have enough stuff to be able to center everyone around an idea that seems to be on a lot of people's minds. So I think every 2 weeks is going to make the live stream super, super better. Doing an audio only version of the show, between live streams, right? So live stream, audio. That lets me keep the show going. That also gives me some time to unpack stuff that we couldn't unpack on the live stream, maybe get to some questions that I didn't have time to get to on the live stream, and also to slow down a little bit and unfold some ideas that deserve a little more attention without the distraction of a chat and that kind of stuff. Sort of more message in a bottle, Speaking of the live stream, I used to recut the whole live stream into a separate video. But I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just putting the live stream and checking it and marking it as a podcast, yada, yada, yada. Because those audience lanes that we were talking about, a lot of people that come to my channel mostly know the Apple computer review stuff, the tech stuff. And so that seems to be the core audience until I started doing this show. But I think this show is a little incompatible with, Do the Thing is a little incompatible with some of the Apple tech stuff. So I try to keep it out of the main video feed because the audience gets confused, and I don't like having to segment, but I recognize it's a thing I have to do. So if the main video feed is staying these Apple videos, cool. The live streams are on their own little tab on YouTube anyway, which is great. That also means that if in a given week, if a Monday Night Creator Chat does not fit a Do the Thing, it just doesn't seem to be like it's going to be a Do the Thing, well, then I can record an audio-only Do the Thing to release on Friday and take the video that was the Monday Night Creator Chat and just turn it into, afterwards, whatever it needs to, whatever it ended up being, right? So maybe a new series ideas can flow out of that, or one-offs or whatever. But those all stay in the live tab, and I don't have to worry about them going to the main feed and losing folks over, I thought this guy did Apple tech videos. Dance, Mr. Goofy Apple Man. Why is he sharing his feelings? I don't want feelings. Oh. Those are all in the live feed. And then YouTube started doing this podcast thing, which is cool. And again, if you're looking at YouTube for anything, um, looking at the difference between the main video feed, the live stream feed, and then this podcasts tab, you can turn any video into a part of your podcast series, which is cool because I'll take the live stream, and if it's a do the thing, then I will check the box to make it part of the podcast tab later. And then that goes into YouTube Music, which is a whole separate app that YouTube's and Google's really trying to push. So there's a whole different audience there, right? Who may know nothing about the nerdy tech boy videos, right? They only know this, Mr. Sensitive podcast dude. That's a whole other audience, right? And it's a whole other way for me to get to those people. And then the audio only show, and Apple and Spotify and all the rest. I'm trying to go to where the people are. And it's really neat to hear very different groups of people talk back to me. And they all have this sense of what they think I am. And then there's weird Mr. Actor Boy over there. And that's a whole other thing. There's some people that think, it's just the TV stuff that I do. So it's weird. Me, wait. Sorry, I'm self-conscious about that. I don't, it's just me and a cat in a room. So I'm trying to figure out a way to share how I feel with you by sharing my experiences. So if this sounds like an ego trip, I apologize. I'm just trying to share my experiences because I hope it helps you, right? Maybe you have some hesitation about making something because there's something about having that attention on you where you feel like that is an ego thing when really maybe you're just trying to make something for somebody. Well, if you're trying to make something for somebody, it's going to be you. So you have to get comfortable with the attention being on you, and that's possible without you thinking that you're the be-all, end-all, right? I'm trying to share with you what I'm learning about this stuff because maybe you are on the precipice of making your own stuff, and it's just helpful sometimes to share notes. So if you know stuff, I'm listening. Please send it my way. Please, please, please. Which reminds me, I still need to set up a show email, and I will. So yeah, you just got to go where they are. And in going where your audience is, will it give you a chance to experiment with different kinds of formats of whatever it is you're making. And some of those formats, some of those versions of what you're making will take more energy than others, more resources than others. And if you get smart and you try to use that to keep making stuff, even when things are low or you don't have what you need or you're not reaching the audience in the way you want to or you're not reaching a specific audience, try packaging up your stuff in another way. Good example, we just did a clown show for Atlanta Fringe. My wife directed it. And the live show was fantastic. But we also taped it. And the creators watched some of the tape and they said, this is so much closer to what I have in my head. And I feel like video is a better format in some ways for this than what we were doing live. It doesn't invalidate the live thing. Those audiences got a great show. But now they have the opportunity to reach different audiences through the video version in ways that take up different energy, that don't take up the same amount of energy as physically moving all your props to a location and performing, but take a different kind of energy, more mental energy where it's like, okay, here it is, I need to put this in front of people and this, that, and the other. They both take energy, but they're different kinds, they're different contexts in your brain. You can't lift weights all day, right? You can't run all day, right? You can't do those kinds of things. Sometimes you need to sit down and think, but you also can't just sit down and think all day. You need all of it. I want you to be a holistic artist, right? All the tools are there, and you don't know which ones you're good at or which ones are going to work for you or which ones are going to surprise you or which ones are definitely not your thing unless you pick them up and try them all, but really try them. And try them intentionally and try them with a goal and a purpose. I want to reach somebody, so I'll try this. I want to try a new medium. I'll try, whatever your thing is. Yeah, so try stuff. Try it in different ways. Try it earnestly. Try and be as whole of an artist as you can. because you might find something in that you really, really love. So yeah, I think that's about it. The live stream should be back on Monday, if the creek don't rise and all that. Until then, I hope you're well, and take care of yourself. Try and make stuff. It's always hard to make stuff. That's okay. That's all right. If you don't make stuff today, try again tomorrow. Try even one step that is kind of like the thing that you're trying to do. You know? Because that's a version of this too, right? Yeah. Okay. See you next time.